37 in California to label GMOs. That went to the vote in California last November. It was narrowly defeated, 51 to 48%, even though the supporters were outspent nearly 6 to 1 by the opponents. The opponents, which included Monsanto and the biotech companies, spent about $48 million. So even though Proposition 37 was defeated, it has spawned numerous state initiatives. There's a labeling initiative in Washington similar to Proposition 37. It will be on the ballot this year in the election in Washington. The voters there will vote on that. There's 26 states that have introduced bills to label GMOs, including my home state of Iowa. I was at a Senate hearing a couple of weeks ago. There were many Iowans there stepping up to say we should demand labeling. If we can get labeling in Iowa, we can get labeling anywhere. So there's tremendous activity going on. I encourage you to support labeling initiatives in your states. There's probably, I think there's one in New York also.
Okay, so Prop 37, everybody's heard of Prop 37? Okay, so you guys were the co-sponsor. Okay, co-chair of Prop 37 right here, Mr. Dave. So the question is, to Dave, is what's the next step? What's the next generation? What do we do now that Prop 37 is over? What comes next?
Sure. Well, listen, thank you very much. I was a co-chair of Prop 37, which really means it's a very boring job. You're behind the scenes trying to organize a lot of organizations and companies to support it. We were very pleased to have some really brave companies step forward, like Nature's Path and Lundberg Family Farms. I'm trying to think, Dr. Bronner's, David Bronner from Bronner Magic Soap stood forward. He was very instrumental and did a lot of great things. Pam Larry, grandmother from Chico, helped start Prop 37, get it on the ballot. Andy Kimbrell, Center for Food Safety, helped write the initiative. They did some great work. And so really what it is, we're trying to build a team of people and a team and spread awareness to win labeling here in the United States. We're up against the most powerful companies on the planet. I'll just say I was a co-chair of the campaign. I'm from Iowa with Ken. I'm about 3.5 hours away from Ken. We live in an ocean of GMOs, corn and soy. So we had hope that we could win in California. It's a very progressive state. But coming from Iowa, and I've been a lobbyist in the Iowa State Capitol, I know that what Monsanto's going to do. They piled $46.5 million on the table against us. They had one of the most deceptive, dishonest political campaigns I've ever seen in my life. I'm 44 years old. I've followed politics since I was a kid. It was worse than what Karl Rove did in 2000 and 2004. It was that bad. We barely lost because the American people fundamentally know they deserve to know what's in their food. 64 other countries around the world have labeling of these products. Coke and Pepsi, Nestle, Kellogg's, those are some of the food companies that piled money against us. The ironic thing is, these same companies label their food products in 64 other countries around the world. Why will they not label them in the United States? What are they afraid of? That's a good question. Does everyone think they have a right to know what's in their food? Yes. Well, I'm just going to say, we need you to get politically organized to do this. In whatever state you're in, we need you to get off your butt and call your elected official. We need you to go and have conversations with them. We need you to send letters to them. We need you to get phone calls. This is a political action right now. We're building a political movement to get power. As Ken mentioned, 26 states right now have either legislation or a ballot initiative process. New York State has a bill in the Senate and the House. It has a good chance of going forward if the people of New York State get behind it. And you got to put pressure on these elected officials. Unfortunately, I found that they don't always do the right thing. And they have people with a lot of money whispering in their other ear. So we've got to yell in that other ear so they'll do what we want. The other thing is there's a ballot initiative in Washington State. We fundamentally believe it's very difficult to get legislation passed in a state capital or in D.C. because we know the political power and the money that we're up against. But by taking it to a popular vote and a ballot initiative, we have a chance to win. But we need you guys on our side. We need you. The Washington State's going to need people in New York donating money and making phone calls to people in Washington so we can win this. We can do it, but it's not going to happen if we don't get off our butts and take the power back.
Thank you. Okay, so in the next part of our segment here, let's get into some practicalities on how we can take this forward and what are the kind of initiatives we can do. And the question for me at this point in the panel is, what are the 5 biggest mistakes we make in our diet? What are the 5 mistakes we're making? In my new book, The Cool Vegetarian, I actually go through that in much detail. But the 5 biggest mistakes, perhaps the number 1 biggest mistake is too much processed, packaged, canned, bottled, just like, the Frankenfoods that we've all heard about, right? Like the stuff that just really has no resemblance to Mother Nature whatsoever. So perhaps that's like number 1. Number 2, the animal-based products. In our society, people are eating meat 3-4 times a day, every single day, like 28 times a week. Like you go to other countries around the world, like I've been to several, and people don't eat that much meat, but here we just, it's animal product after animal product after animal product. So I think that would be number 2. And then the amount of sugar and fat that we're eating in our diets. And it's, you need fat, right? You need to have like several grams of fat in your diet every single day, but we're eating the wrong kind of fat, whether it be animal fat or saturated fat or cooked fat. You want to be eating like seeds and nuts and, avocados and coconuts, like good quality fats. And then the last one is, louder, thank you, sorry. That's the Canadian in me, I'm sorry. The last one is that I feel that we have what I call VDD, vegetable deficit disorder, which is we're just not eating enough fruits and vegetables. Like we go for like candies and popcorn and chips and chocolate bars as snacks when there's so many fruits and vegetables there that are just so much more nutritious for us. So if we can avoid those 5 problems, our health would improve, and the amount of GMOs that we ingest in our bodies would totally go down. So again, cooked food, animal products, processed, packaged, canned, bottled, sugar, oil, salts, all those kind of things. Okay, so in terms of like how do we get the word out to other people, back to Alisa. Alisa, how can the public rally around this issue? How can we galvanize the public, and where can people really plug in?
So David also already mentioned one place. If you want to do the legislative strategy, the ballot initiatives, the state legislation, go to Food Democracy Now's website and find out what's going on. In addition to New York, there's also conversations in Connecticut about getting non-GMO labeling requirements going. So right in your area, there's lots going on, and check out the Food Democracy Now website. Now, Green America, we're taking an allied approach for getting the word out, and we're doing something that we call marketplace campaigns. We're really excited about that so many people are concerned about the GMO issue, because we feel like it's a really important pivot point to move people to change the whole agricultural system from an agriculture industry-based system to a sustainable local organic food system. So Green America has a new project called GMO Inside, and David's organizing political power, and we're organizing the power of the pocketbook. And I'm very happy to say that Dave is on our advisory committee, so we get all of the brilliance of his strategy on our advisory committee. So we have a new project called GMOinside.org. You can come to booth 722 and learn all about it and sign our pledge that we'll get to that we use to force companies to take GMOs out of their food. What we're doing is that we're doing 3 things. We're educating people about GMOs, the kind of conversation we're having here. We're encouraging people to eat non-GMO food because that puts pressure on the marketplace. It's good for your own personal health, and it sends a signal to the marketplace that we don't want GMOs. And it is working. Those companies that put a non-GMO label on their products, they get about a 20% boost in sales. That's the way to make change, guys. We don't, if the politicians don't get their acts together, if the politicians won't label GMO foods, we the people will. That's the slogan for GMO Inside. And I need all of you to help to sign up at booth 722 to sign up for our email list and on our website, because every month we go after a different company and we alert people to where GMOs are. So for example, in May, we're going to be going after infant formula. Every single infant formula on the market has GMO soy, and many of them have GMO corn. Our littlest people, the most vulnerable, are getting filled with this horrible stuff, and it's got to stop with it. So for Mother's Day, we're doing a big campaign on infant formula. So please join with us. And again, I'm going to say it, gmoinside.org. If you want to go home, go to our website and then go to Facebook. The Facebook page has amazing information. All the information that you heard here is on the Facebook page with beautiful posters that you can download and use. You know, the 8 most common ingredients. The other amazing statistic I want to tell you, and one of the reasons why people are so upset about GMOs, is because the 4 big agribusiness companies, starting with Monsanto, now own 53% of the world seed crop. That is a crime. There are so many people who are, you know, have never been interested in sustainable food per se, but they are very, very, very concerned about this level of corporate control over the very thing that we eat every day. We have to have non-GMO seeds. Farmers have to be able to plant their own seeds. In your own community gardens, you need to be able to plant your own seeds, but the biotech industry is trying to take away the biodiverse seeds and put everybody on monocropping seeds that they own. This is If the food and health and environmental concern doesn't hit you, I hope the corporate control problem hits you. But you can find all that information on the GMOinside.org website and Facebook page. Like us on the Facebook page. Share all the graphics. We come up with new graphics every week that you can share with others so that we can get the word out there. And guess what? That's going to help everything that David does on the political side, because the more people are informed, then when there's a ballot initiative up or there's legislation up in any given state, and Monsanto starts telling lies, the people will know better and they will vote for the right to know and to label food.
Thank you, thank you. So Dave, we heard about this GM salmon, and we heard that it was rejected by retail, but maybe not. Can you give us an update on that and how that changes the game for everybody? Yeah. Sorry, Ken. Ken. I got another question for you.
Yes, there's a genetically engineered salmon that a company called Aqua Bounty Technologies in Massachusetts has genetically engineered to grow to full size twice as fast as conventional salmon. So they've applied to the FDA for approval of this, and it looks like the FDA could approve this. There's it's up for public comment on the FDA's website. The FDA is accepting public comments until next Friday, I believe. So if you haven't submitted comments to oppose this salmon, please go to the FDA's website, or you could probably go to Food Democracy Now! Or GMO Inside to submit comments saying you oppose this. There's massive opposition to this salmon from salmon fishing groups, from environmental groups, even lawmakers in D.C. There's bills that have been introduced to label this salmon by senators in Alaska, and now, because it may be approved, there's food retailers, supermarket chains who say they won't sell it. Like Whole Foods has committed not to selling it, Trader Joe's, Aldi's, a conventional supermarket chain which has over 1,000 stores, said they won't sell it. H-E-B in Texas, Hy-Vee in Iowa said they won't sell it. So this shows the power the retailers have, that they can take GMOs off the shelves. As an example, in Europe, there was a supermarket chain that called Iceland Foods that in the late 1990s, when GMOs were starting to appear, they said, we're not going to sell GMO products. And their sales increased 10%. So other retailers in the UK saw that and said, oh, we're going to do the same thing. So pretty soon, GMOs were off the shelves in Europe completely. And the same thing could happen in the United States as well. Whole Foods said they're going to require labeling of GMOs by 2018. I know for some people like Dave, that's too long, but it's going to force food manufacturers to go non-GMO. So non-GMO is going to be as mainstream, probably as mainstream as organic is. So it's going to help educate people about this issue as well.
That's great. Okay, so Dave, your question is, what's the best way for people to stop the GMO from happening and get the labeling to be in place?
Sure. Well, I think we've talked about multiple strategies. I mean, Food Democracy Now!, we fundamentally believe, I'm an organizer, a political organizer, and we believe that all roads lead to labeling. You have to do everything. This has a massive education awareness program. 4 years ago, when Barack Obama was first sworn into office, there was not a national conversation on GMOs. There was not a national conversation that people knew what's in their food. Today, 4 years later, 5 years later, people have been working on the ground incredibly difficult and hard to make this a popular issue. Prop 37, I think one of the fundamental things, the approval of GMO alfalfa in January of 2011 by the Obama administration fundamentally changed the equation. Because that's when the dairy industry, the organic dairy industry, recognized there was a real threat to them for contamination. And they kind of organized a petition to the FDA, Food and Drug Administration, just to label it, got over 1 million comments. We were there to help them as a grassroots organization because we believe fundamentally that you have to engage your government to get the policy you want. What is the process here? Again, all roads lead to labeling. Prop 37 failed, but it sparked a giant movement in the United States. People were outraged at what happened by the defeat there. We're not sure, kind of what happened in the ballot box, but we do know that advertising works. $46.5 million is an easy way to defeat the American public. It's advertising. Repetition works. The question is, well, they lied. I'll just say it was a very dishonest, deceptive campaign. Fundamentally, they lied their asses off. Our side, we believe that we had to tell the truth. There was a study that came out in September, a French study showing harm, a 2-year study, toxicity study, and longest independent peer-reviewed study that had been done. It showed that, not like Monsanto's 90-day study to get approval, this was a 2-year study on the same kind of rats, the same protocols. What it showed is the real harm to the rats. They had higher rates of cancer and disease and death. Those harms started showing up in the 4th month and after the 4th month. So really, in my estimation, we've got to change the laws in the United States that regulate pesticides. We've got to change the laws that regulate biotechnology. The best way to do that, there's multiple strategies here, obviously. The best way to do that is to be involved politically. Contact your legislators. There's a lot of great groups out there that are working on this and have worked on this for years. Organic Consumers Association raised $1.3 million for Prop 37. That's really remarkable. Mercola.com did a great job in fighting for Prop 37. Jeffrey Smith and the Institute for Responsible Technology. There's a lot of groups that you can get involved in. Center for Food Safety on the legal front. There's a lot of great groups that do really incredible work. And you need to be a part of the process, and you need to be evangelicals for labeling. You need to go out and tell your friends. I know it's for some people that make your skin crawl, but you got to get out there and you got to tell people what's in their food. You got to get out there and you have these conversations with your friends and your family. Say, it's important what you eat. You don't have to tell them what to eat, but you can tell them that, listen, if you're eating this, you're supporting this paradigm of corporate industrial agriculture that is stealing your basic fundamental democratic rights, that's harming family farmers and harming the environment. For me, the process of labeling is, I can't stand the fact that these corporations can buy and sell our legislators and steal our democratic rights. That deeply offends me. The other thing that bothers me a lot is they're screwing over family farmers. This technology is not good for the family farmer. It costs them more money, and ultimately, as the biotech crops fail, they're going to lose money. And but the pesticide company is always, in the biotech companies, they have new crops coming up. They're 2,4-D, Agent Orange corn, and soy. Because the super weeds, because the way nature works, these super weeds are becoming resistant, they're going to put more toxic chemicals on the land. That's bad for the environment. That's bad for mothers, it's bad for children, and it's bad for farmers. And I'll just say, we got to fight back. If anyone has any creative ideas, we're open to listening to them.
Okay, so I told you we only had 40 hours for this talk, and we're pretty much at the last question here. So we're going to have to go quick on this one for everybody. But this is our last question of the session. And then afterwards, Ken is doing a book signing in the book area. My new books just came out today, so I'll be there as well. and it's got lots of, it's great one. Okay, so here's the last question. How can we change the world with our food choices? That's the question for everybody, and it'll be quick. So maybe I'll go first on that one. And I believe that the way that we change the world is with our wallet. I don't think there's a stronger or bigger voice than every single day when we go into our wallets and we pull that wallet out of our pants or purse or whatever it is every single day, you voting 6, 7, 8 times a day with your food choices. And you can choose organics, you can choose plant-based, you can choose locally made, you can choose things that are sustainable and eco and friendly, and you can make those choices each and every day. And if we make those choices, we can be healthier, the planet can be healthier, and the economy would be healthier too. I mean, it's proven that if you make responsible choices for you and the planet, everything is better off. And we'll go this way. So, again, how can you change the world with your food choices?
Well, listen, I think you can do a lot of great things by changing your diet. You can change your life and improve your health. Today we have an epidemic of obesity. That's because of food choices, but those food choices aren't happening in a vacuum. It's not just voting in the marketplace or voting in the grocery store. That's the first and fundamental thing you can do. Every piece of food that shows up at a grocery store or in a fast food restaurant is showing up there because a government policy has helped put it in place. That's why GMOs are in the marketplace. Not because there was a marketplace decision that they were a great thing to do, but because they undermined our regulatory structure, they snuck into our government, and they rigged the rules against us. This is a fight for our democracy. It's a fundamental and basic fight, and we have to win this, or we will not be able to make those important choices in the marketplaces. Ultimately, this is a flawed technology because genetic engineering, because it contaminates. Though that genetically engineered pollen blows across fences, it knows no bounds, and it will contaminate organic and conventional food. We will no longer have organic food if we don't get off our ass, pardon my language, and fight. I mean, this is a fight for democracy, and it's really serious. I think it's important to change your diet, and I think it's a really good first step, but it's only one step in a 12-step equation of regaining your food supply and taking your country from these corporations.
So yes, we can make a big difference. Eating organic and non-GMO foods. That's one thing you can do, and it's interesting because if you demand organic and non-GMO, these companies have to respond. As an example, back in the early 2000s, there were GMO potatoes being grown to make French fries for the fast food chains. But McDonald's and Burger King became concerned that their customers would not want to eat GMO potatoes, so they told their suppliers, no, we're not going to buy GMO potatoes anymore. Suppliers told the farmers stopped growing the seed, and Monsanto lost the market. So it just shows we work like through GMO Inside, tell these food companies we don't want GMOs. If Kraft Foods said we're not going to buy any more GMO corn, the ramifications of that would be huge. It would kill the market for GMO corn. So as Dave said, we need multiple strategies. This is a huge battle. We're facing huge opponents that have billions of dollars and also influence on the government. So we need initiatives like GMO Inside. We need political initiatives. Labeling would be one way to take GMOs off the market. If companies had to label their products with GMOs, they would stop buying GMO ingredients. They would go non-GMO. So we need these multiple strategies. Center for Food Safety is filing lawsuits to stop GMO crops. So I encourage you to get involved. There's going to be a national labeling law bill introduced next week. So I encourage you to contact your national representatives to support that labeling bill as well. So I encourage you all to get involved and eat organic and non-GMO and local also.
So I'm going to underscore what my panelists have said, that the biodiversity of strategies is the best. Diversity is really important in our society of all kinds, and we learn it from ecosystems. Ecosystem science says that the most robust and sustainable and stable ecosystems are the ones that are diverse. So, like my fellow panelists are saying, we need diverse strategies. If you and we really need to call on ourselves to do those diverse strategies. So, head over to fooddemocracynow.org for the political strategies. Come on over to gmoinside.org for the marketplace strategies, and choose every day with your pocket the very best of food that you can eat. Your body, after all, is a temple. I do want to underscore on the marketplace strategies, there's two pieces to it. It's what you say no to, or boycott, or refuse to eat. And GMO Inside organizes that. I want to give you guys a heads up. In September, we're going to launch a very, 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 very big boycott effort. It's going to be aimed at Cheerios. And the reason why we're going to do that is because people feed Cheerios to their toddlers all day long. They start their day with breakfast with Cheerios, and they think that Cheerios is healthy. I mean, if we launched it against Coke, people would go, well, duh, Coke isn't healthy for you. So we want to show that food that people think is quote-unquote healthy are laden with GMOs and other kinds of pesticides and chemicals, and we got to stop it. And the idea will be that if we can get Cheerios to either label their GMOs, which they don't want to do, or better yet, take it out of their food, then everybody else will follow them because they're the market leader. Now, I want to tell you a really funny story. As Dave mentioned, there are over 60 countries around the world that require GMO labeling. So we thought that what we would do is show what these other labels look like. And we called up all of our friends and, to say, hey, can you send me one of those GMO labels from the UK, or from France, or from Japan, or from Russia, or from China, or from Australia? And do you know, you can't find GMO labels to see what they look like, because the manufacturers don't want to put them on their products because they know that we, the people, don't want them. So what they do instead is they offer non-GMO products. Well, companies like Cheerios in Europe, Cheerios is non-GMO. So they have the technology, they can sell it in Europe. Everybody in Europe gets non-GMO Cheerios. Why the heck can't we in America have non-GMO Cheerios? So I leave you with two things. Number one, I hope you're good and angry at the corporate control of our food supply, and will jump on the bandwagon with us to use your political pressure and your pocketbook pressure to change the situation. So I hope you're really angry and you're going to come with us, fooddemocracynow.org, gmoinside.org. So that's number one. And then non-GMOreport.org, if you want to get the information, the best information anywhere on what's going on with GMOs, check in the non-GMOreport.org. non-GMOreport.com, that's Ken's group. For example, you'll find out the late breaking news from the farmers that an example is the tie-in between GMOs and climate change. It turns out that the GMO crops are, and I found this out in Ken's report this summer, when they had the bad drought this summer in the Midwest, turns out the GMO seeds and the GMO crops are less drought resistant. So here you go, food and energy tied. So get angry, get angry and take all these actions. But I also want to leave you with hope. We can win this one. You know, we've been screwed on climate change because carbon dioxide goes into the air and it stays there. But we can get rid of these GMO seeds and these GMO crops. We can take them completely out of our agriculture system and shift our agricultural system to sustainability. We could do it in 5 years. So stay angry, stay active, and keep up all your good work.
Thank you.
Oh, wait a second. David says 3. I'm with him.
Alisa Gravitz, Ken Roseboro, and Dave Murphy. I'm Jeff Golfman from The Cool Vegetarian. Thank you. We'll be on the side of the stage here for a few minutes, then we're going to the bookstore for Ken's books.
Yeah, please come and get Ken's book. Everything you want to know about GMOs is in Ken's book.